Well, welcome back. Here we are in the garage again, and if you were with me last time around, you experienced you got to witness me having a bit of a frustration peak, or an event, or an episode, or whatever you want to call it. I was trying to get that windshield in the frame. I wasn't in the right frame of mind. It didn't go well. I abandoned it for the time being. I'm not going to start with that first today. So today what we're going to start with is we're going to start working on this lip of this cowl here, or firewall, whatever you want to call it, where it sticks out too far to let the hood open. So I'm going to move the hood up a little bit, or may even have to take it completely off again. And then I'm going to tape this area off so that I don't mess up any of my paint with grinding, cutting, whatever I need to do. I'm a little worried. I just got out here and I'm a little worried that my Dremel is maybe up on the boat. So I might not have my Dremel. I was thinking a Dremel with a little cutting wheel would probably be the most optimal way to do it, because it's going to be small work and I don't think a big grinder is going to be the tool for this job. So I got to get situated a little bit, and I'm not sure I got the right tools here. A few things to get out of the way. I just had a blanket sitting up here from when I had the windshield frame tipped down on it, so it wasn't, kind of riding on the hood. So a little prep work to do. I'll do that real quick, and when I come back, we'll have figured out what at least my starting points on this job are, and we'll start to see if we can't fix that so that we can get this hood open when it's all bolted back in place. All right, well, hopefully you can hear me over the wind in the background. It's pretty windy out there today. Anyway, the Dremel worked okay as expected. The one I owned already was up on the boat, so I just ran over to Home Depot and picked up another one. I started off with the cutoff wheel, and I cut this off so it's essentially flush with the forward-facing part of this lip down here at the bottom, and then about up here where the curve really starts is where I kind of straightened it out and let it that lip start to remain. That's pretty much how the originals were out there. I think I'll step out there with a tape measure and just kind of measure about how high up off the bottom of this, they had the cut ended. Of course, as expected, it screwed up our paint here where we were painted into this lip. So I don't know that I don't know you're gonna ever see that. So I may take a little just black paint and cover that up, or some seam sealer and cover it up, but we'll see. Mostly what I'm going to do though is I'm going to do the other side, and I'm going to make sure that we've solved our problem, and then I'll figure out how to refinish that. But I cut it off with a cutoff wheel, and then I put a little grinder wheel on there and I ground it down and tried to kind of round it out a little bit so it wouldn't be so raggedy and rough there, and it's not too bad. It doesn't feel too bad. I'm rubbing my bare fingers up and down it, and I'm not bleeding. All right, well, the battery's about dead on the camera here, so I got to go in and grab some lunch and put a new battery in. But we are indeed making this a resto mod project in the truest sense of the word. So you saw me grinding away up there on the cowl. I pulled the hood down, flipped it over. On the back side of it, the part that goes down in that lip is like 2 layers of metal. Looks like they're spot welded every so often, and there are some kind of pressed in channels, I think for extra strength. But where the channel is bent and comes up against the back, there's quite a gap there, so that might have been some of that was hitting the thing. But anyway, I've been grinding along all along in here, and I've ground on all along up there. And the last test fit I did, it was still catching. So a little bit of work yet to do, but like I said, the battery's about dead. I'm hungry, so I'm gonna go make me a sandwich. I've blown up one of my little grinder wheels so that those Dremels, you know, I kind of hate those things. I mean, they're good right until they explode. And then, this is the little grinder wheel I was using on it. So it just blew up on me, so it's probably time to give this a rest for a minute. There's another chunk of it. So, some customization necessary to make this hood and this reproduction tub get along well. The hood, again, remember, is a factory hood, and the 2 pieces of metal that are joined together on this lip are very imprecise. I mean, they're where they bend around the corner. It's all kind of ripply, and it was all different heights. So all I'm essentially doing is I'm taking the grinder wheel and I'm going along there, and when I get down to both layers, then I'm kind of starting to go, okay, now that whatever was sticking up of one layer is now down to at least met the second layer. And so I'm trying to kind of achieve that all the way across to where I have both layers together at the same height. And I'm hoping if I take off like a 1/8 of an inch or 2 here, an 1/8 or 2 of an inch up there, between the 2, this thing will open like it's supposed to. But I might get the big grinder out. I don't really want to because it's pretty delicate work here. And I did touch the paint up there one time with the grinder wheel. You know, the little Dremel. I'm trying to hold it with both hands and make sure I'm real steady, but I know that one time it did kind of pop up and touch the paint on the cowl, right where it curves around there. So I've got one little nick in the paint. So probably some patching will be necessary, and whoever told me to do this before I painted, you should have said, stop, stop, stop. Don't do another thing until you test fit your hood on that stupid tub and make sure it's going to fit, because you're going to have a week's worth of grinding and stuff you're going to have to do. So do that before any. So somebody tried to stop me from going through this trouble. If you're following along and you're doing a reproduction tub with your factory hood, stop, stop, stop. Stop before you paint. Bolt your hood on and see if the stupid thing will open, because apparently this is common and takes quite a little work to get it fixed. So lunchtime for now. I'll be back. All right, well, there's some progress. We've got the hood coming up and not touching any of our firewall back there. So I've got it bolted on. What I wound up doing was getting it bolted in place, and then I almost had it after trimming both the hood and the cowl, and I bolted it on for the last fit, and as I bent it up, lifted it up, there was one corner over on the driver's side there that kind of caught one of those layers of metal. Remember I mentioned there's 2 pieces of metal. There's the top of the hood, and then there's that brace in there that's kind of spot welded to it. Well, the outside layer and the inside layer, one or the other, was still catching a little bit. So I put my blanket back on where the windshield frame goes, and basically tipped the hood clear back over and got it to where I could work on both. So I could grind a little bit on the corner of the cowl, and I could grind a little bit on the hood, and I wound up trimming that spot
a little bit to where it would clear. So we're good. That was a nightmare. And I've scratched my fenders and I've dinged the paint over there, and Jesus. Yeah. If you're following along and you're doing one of these yourself, I guess I just missed the advice to get this hood to fit first, but don't do the mistake that I did. Figure that thing out before you start painting, and then you can kind of set the hood on there and paint it. So I need to do a little more painting anyway. I got some pieces and parts that I've already mentioned that need to be painted. I'm just gonna have to do a little repair work on some of these spots where taking this hood on and off and on and off and on and off and all that. I've been trying to be really careful. I had a towel packed up on top of the air cleaner for it to rest on the back end of it. I had towels up on the fenders, but I just wound up getting little scratches here and there. So they might just be in the clear coat. They might buff out, but it's hard to say at this point. But anyway, after much work, we got this hood to fit. Now, I also took a big pair of channel lock pliers, and I kind of went along that lip. So the lip is, there's a channel in there. I can't really show you, but there's a U-shaped channel with that front lip that's facing towards the front of the Jeep. I went along with my channel locks and I grabbed that lip and I bent it out just a little bit so that it was at a little bit of an angle. So it gives me a little more room for my lip of my hood to come up out of there and clear. So between the grinding, the bending, the swearing, the crying, and everything else that went on off camera, it's working now. It's perfect. So I'm going to close the hood and close the day. It's Formula One is back. The summer vacation is over and Formula One's back. So it's a race weekend. Some other things going on. Probably go take the dogs up to the lake or something tomorrow with the daughters. But anyway, some good news. But yeah, take those people's advice that gave me the advice and fit your hood first before you paint and before you do all your body work, because it doesn't just fit right on there. And I don't know who's to blame. I hate to throw the guys that made the tub under the bus, because they're obviously building this thing off of some pattern or plans or something. And that back lip of the hood was all curvy and wrinkled, and it was not straight either. So maybe a fair amount of this kind of fitting work goes on when they're building these things, or when they were building these back in the day when Columbus came over on the Mayflower. So anyway, there you go. We got it. So there's no hole in my grill. I can't figure out where my hole went for my my hood support. So I'm holding my hood support in my hand here. Can have to go look at that because I got my hood support here, but it doesn't have the hole to go into. So, maybe it's on that little. I also don't have my braces that go from the firewall to the front of the grill in place yet. So I still got a lot of work to do, but it's coming along. So some progress, and that's it. So I'm going to go do other things at this point in time. Okay, well, before I go watch Formula One, I just thought I'd give you a quick look. So we're gonna step back here and spin you around. So there she sits. Now you can see, well, I don't know if you can see from here, but the gap on the hood to the fender is pretty tight in the back here. I mean, I can't get my finger in there, but up here I can get my finger in almost sideways. So the gap here is not very uniform. My fender's tight against the tub here. I chipped the paint there, so that's probably the worst mistake we've made. But you can see this gap as I pan around it. It's a little bit of a gap here on the corner, and then there's almost no gap right in the center here. And now let's walk around to the other side and I'll show you what we look like over there. Okay, so on the driver's side, looking across again, we've got our tight spot there, and then we get a bit of a gap here. Kind of pulling, the cowl bend here is pulling back a little from the hood. And
tight at the back. Again, here I can barely get my finger in, but I come to the front, I can't get my finger in at all. So what I feel like is wrong, if I'm looking under the hood here, you can see there's my little bump stops that it sits on. It's not touching that one. It is touching that one. It's not touching this one, and it is touching that one. So obviously what I need to do is I'm going to loosen up the bolts on the grill that bolt the front of the fenders to the grill, and then kind of wiggle stuff around and kind of check my alignment here and there and get it, you know, tightened or aligned better before everything's tightened up. And then maybe that will kind of pull everything into its proper place. And then I'll just briefly show you this tab right here goes back to a spot back there right above, right there. There's that, you know, there's the kind of a rod that goes from the firewall to the front of the grill. There's another one over there that braces the grill. I don't have those in place yet. So, you know, I think again, you kind of have to loosen everything and then align everything and then kind of tighten her up. So we'll do that work before we tighten everything up for good. And obviously you can tell we're kind of missing one component here. We don't have a grill, but now that I'll kind of get everything situated and get it in place, I will order a grill. I've got an old one out there, but it's old and I want to put a big thick one in there. So when we're rock crawling down there in Moab and it's 100 degrees and we're going, you know, 0.0001 miles per hour, the grill can, or the radiator can dissipate a lot of heat, because that's the one thing that these, you know, these old V8s, when you're rock crawling, they're prone to overheating. And so I don't want to deal with that. But anyway, probably off to watch some Formula One qualifying right now. So I'll set you aside for now. And next time we're speaking, I'm just looking over there at that damn windshield. Next time I come out here, I guess I better just do that thing. So maybe tomorrow, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe not. But for now, that's enough for today.